Go, Fritz.
The Bears are who we thought they were.
The Bears. The Bears.
I am the great Cornholio.
We'll see what happens.
Playoffs?
See, Sean McDonough, Jay Billis. Goats!
Can you play a song? Something cool. Put my mic on!
I'm calling both games.
Oh, baby!
Are you serious? Goes down the field for Smith. Oh, he got it!
Seattle. We're getting ready for Cincinnati.
Without further ado, let's get into the key takeaways from last week heading into week 5. And so first off, the AFC West is what I'm going to kind of start off with. Going into last week, I said, hey, the Broncos, this is their first big test, right? They played the Jets, Giants, and Jaguars in their first 3 games. And people are saying, wow, they're 3-0, right? The Broncos might be coming back. And I was like, wait, hold on. Hold the phones, stop the presses. Let's pump the brakes on that one. They've played 3 of the worst teams in the league. Baltimore was going to be their big test. And they didn't look all that great. And yes, I am aware Teddy Two Gloves did get hurt and he did get knocked out of the game. Like, I understand that. Like, I was watching the game, so I understand that. But still, like, even when Bridgewater was in the game, Denver didn't look like, I don't know, they didn't look like a 3-0 team that's going to, take that and make it a season-long stretch of success. Chargers right now, Chargers are my current pick to win the AFC West, my front runner. Raiders, I think, can still give them a good fight, and I don't want to count the Chiefs out of it just yet either. But right now, the Chargers, and last year, Justin Herbert was looking really good, right? He was finally proving, like, hey, he's for real, and he's going to be a good quarterback for years to come. And they finally have a competent head coach who, A, knows how to call good plays, and B, knows how to manage time, something that the Chargers continuously messed up last year. It was almost like a weekly thing, like, oh, what did the Chargers mess up time management-wise this week? So they finally got a coach with something between his ears. So things are gelling for the Chargers. Things are cooking, and you can make as many jokes as you want about how they don't have any fans, but if they keep playing like this, they're going to start getting some fans. So the Chargers right now are my front runner and my pick to win the AFC West. This week is going to be yet another big game for the Chargers as they take on the Browns at home this Sunday at 4:05 p.m. AFC North is interesting, right? The Bengals are 3-1, and Browns and Ravens are 3-1 as well. And like, the Steelers might legitimately finish in last place in the AFC North. And I think that if they hold on to Big Ben, they're going to finish in last place, right? I mean, they're holding on to Big Ben like a 5-year-old hold on, or like a 4-year-old holds onto his blankie or sucks his thumb, right? Like, at one point or another, you gotta move on. You gotta understand, hey, we can't be doing this anymore. Big Ben, just, I don't know what it is, right? A lot of people thought that the whole diet thing was going to work out for him, and he, was going to come back really good this year and play, have a really good season. But, I mean, first 4 weeks, it's not coming into fruition. I don't know if it's, all on Big Ben. I don't know if there's chemistry issues. I don't know if players in the locker room are not really, like, on Big Ben's side. I'm not in the locker room, so I don't know all the specifics as to what's going on. Bottom line is Big Ben doesn't look good, and therefore the Steelers are losing. And the Bengals are, Bengals are winning games. Browns and Ravens are winning, are having success as expected. And the Steelers are really dropping the ball this year so far. So I think next week the Steelers play the Broncos. So, Broncos are 3-1. They're looking to come off their loss to Baltimore. But Steelers, right? This is. I don't know that you say this is a must-win for Pittsburgh, but if it's not, it's about as close to a must-win as you get. Because if they drop this game, then they fall to 1-4. And I don't know about you, but I don't remember the last time a 1-4 team made the playoffs especially in a division such as the AFC North, where it's going to be very competitive. AFC South, I've kind of touched on this periodically over the show. The AFC South is wide open, right? Last year, the NFC East was the conference that was really bad. This year, it's the AFC South. Tennessee is leading the division at 2-2, and even they don't look good, like, at all. Like, their 2 wins came against Seattle and shoot, why am I blanking on this? I should know this. Seattle and, let me click on the Titans, please. Thank you. Seattle and Indianapolis. Okay, so yeah, 2-2 Titans. They haven't looked good at all, and like I said, without Urban Meyer, Jacksonville might have a chance at winning or leading the division right now, or giving Tennessee a shot. And sure, Tennessee right now is in first place, but like no team in that division, I should say, looks like a clear front runner. And sure, Tennessee is leading the division right now, but I don't know. I just don't see it from them, and I don't know what it is, because they still have a lot of the same players. They still have King Henry. They still have Tannehill. They still have I guess Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith left, right? So now but they got Julio Jones, and they still have AJ Brown, right? Because they got rid of Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith. So yeah, they still have AJ Brown. So bottom line is, like, Tennessee has a talented team. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no way around it. Tennessee has talented pieces. They just aren't putting things together right now. And the Arizona loss was one thing, right? Arizona right now is the only undefeated team left. But the Jets game, like, oh my goodness. Come on, you cannot lose to the Jets the way they did. So, like, I don't know. I mean, the Colts right now, the Colts look like a mess. Houston is probably the biggest dumpster fire in the history of the National Football League. And Jacksonville is... I mean, what can you say about Jacksonville either? So, like, I don't know. It's not only that the teams are losing, but, like, the way that the teams are being run is just as much of a mess. And things in the front office and coaching, like, that's just as bad as the product they're putting out on the field. So... AFC South is wide open, right? If any one of those teams gets it together, they have a chance at winning the division. And it's kind of gonna be a competition, like who's gonna get their stuff together here, and whoever does first is probably gonna win that division. And honestly, right now it could be any of those 4 teams, except for Houston. Probably, I don't think Houston really has a realistic shot. The NFC West, I would not get too hyped up about San Francisco just yet. Sure, they got off to a great start, but Jimmy G, right? The old classic, the old chestnut there with the injuries, as he's questionable for this Sunday, and Trey Lance might start. We saw Trey Lance for the entire second half last week, and he looked all right. He didn't look terrible, right? Bottom line is, though, they lost the game. So, Trey Lance, young guy, right? Give him time. I get that argument, but San Francisco, right? Just when people thought, okay, 49ers have it figured out, they're a Super Bowl contender. Like, even at the beginning of the season, when people were saying that, like, oh, they've got a shot at being a Super Bowl contender, I was like, well, okay, just like I said earlier about the Broncos, let's pump the brakes a little bit. They still need to go out and prove it. Like, sure, they have some talented pieces, but they still need to put it all together and go out on the field and win games, especially in that division, where all 4 teams probably have a legit shot at going to the playoffs. If Arizona can keep things up, they were going to be legit Super Bowl contenders. I understand that they struggled a little bit in their game against Minnesota, and Jacksonville wasn't a game that, maybe Arizona fans or players are thrilled with either. But week 1 against Tennessee, they looked really sharp, and last week they looked tremendous as well. So if they can keep that up, Arizona might be, and last week I was saying, well, the Rams looked really good, and now it's the Cardinals, and it's going to change from week to week, obviously, right? But if the Cardinals, right, and there's a lot of criticism on Cliff Kingsbury, and even I wasn't, even I didn't think that he had what it takes to lead that team to be successful. I even said that in that same video that I kind of flashed back to earlier in the show, because Cliff Kingsbury is one of those coaches that came over from college to the NFL, and he wasn't doing amazing, but this year could be where things turn around for him. So if Arizona keep things up, maybe they run away with this thing. As far as the NFC East, it's kind of Cowboys are up here, and then all the way down here is everybody else. And like those other three teams, Eagles, football team, Washington, and Giants, don't look awful, right? Like they're not looking like a team where you say, oh my God, they're going to lose every game this year. But the way it stands now, it looks like for the first time in a long time, Dallas is getting everything together, and they're really starting to get that that chemistry going, and they really have a cohesive group that they're bringing out onto the field for game day, and they might as well they might run away with the NFC East title. The NFC South, I think, is going to be very competitive this year, more so between the Bucs and Panthers. Panthers almost came back last week and tied the Cowboys. They only lost by one possession in that game. And the Saints, I've given up on trying to predict what the Saints are going to do. I've given up on trying to say how good, how well the Saints are going to play week in and week out. It seems like every other week is a different story. Like one week they blow out a team, they look really good, and then the next week they lose to a bad team, and then it kind of alternates. So if we're following that rhythm and that pattern, because it has been a pattern this year, if we're following that, the Saints should blow out the Washington football team this week. We'll see if it happens, but the Saints just look like one of the, like I said, I've given up on trying to predict what's going to happen with the Saints, because just when I think I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm getting them figured out, it's like, nope, you have no idea. So, I mean, the Saints may end up being competitive down the stretch this season, or they may fall apart. Time will tell. The NFC North, things are kind of percolating in the NFC North, right? The Bears finally made the switch to Justin Fields. So I'm going to be interested to see how he does as he takes over at the quarterback position for Chicago. The Browns game was ugly. It was dreadful for him. And as I said, I know I was pulling for him to be the starting quarterback for the Bears. And I said you either start him week 1, so he has time to develop, or you throw him out there against a bad team like the Lions, like last week. And he looked decent last week. You don't throw him out against Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney and the Browns. That was one of the stupidest decisions I've ever seen. But it's Matt Nagy and the Chicago Bears. What can you really expect? Another question that is kind of like hovering over the whole division is like, when are the Lions going to get their first win? I thought last week they had a good shot, and they just came out and just didn't have it. And the question of whether Motor City Dan Campbell is the guy or not has to start gaining ground, right? I imagine that's something that's going to start kind of like, people are going to start talking about that, like, oh, is he the guy? And I don't really know what you can really do with Jared Goff. I don't think that's really, the guy that you look at and say, oh, that's our future guy. I think they need a new quarterback. T.J. Hawkinson is great. DJ Swift is great as well. They just need some solid receivers and a solid quarterback, and get some good pieces for defense, and then I think they can turn things around. Because you look at the Lions, right, against the Niners and against the Ravens, they never really gave up, right? They kept fighting, and as Dan Campbell said in the opening presser when he was hired, he said, we're going to take on the mentality of a lion. We're never going to give up. We're going to bite your kneecaps and your ankles and whatnot. essentially he's proven that, you know, that is the mentality that they're taking on. Like, they will not give up. And I think it's only a matter of time till they finally break through and get their first win. Green Bay, however, could really run away with this division, because a lot of people are looking at Minnesota as a team that could give Green Bay a run for their money, but I don't know. Maybe I'm one of the few, but I'm just not seeing it. I just don't think Minnesota has what it takes to I don't even think Minnesota is going to make the playoffs, really, to be honest with you. So I think Green Bay.